This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
I'm KJ Wright from the Seattle Seahawks, and you're watching NorbFam.
This is Walter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf from
Nate Burleson, you're watching NorbFam.
You're watching NorbFam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. This video brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. It's an exciting time as a Seahawks fan. It's not very often you get to say we're undefeated in first place in the division. It's been a number of years before we can say that, but we get to say that, and even for another weekend, because we get to be on top until we finally play this match, this game against the Lions, the Monday night primetime game where the Seahawks will be really seriously tested for the first time in the 2024 season. And can they pull it off? Can they pull it off for the third straight year in a row is the question. In Detroit. Why do we keep going to Detroit? I don't understand. But that's the way the ball bounces. But I'm going to try to find out a little bit more about what's it going to take to beat the Lions. Do they have a weakness? What do we got to do to try to exploit them? And who better to find out than a Detroit Lions creator who knows them better than anybody else? So we're going to find out from him what he knows about the Lions. Bringing to you dose of Dion 2.0. Dion, how's it going, man?
Man, it's great. Hey, I forgot how fire that intro was. That's a beautiful intro. I love that. That got me hyped up. Seeing Nate Burleson on there, like, this is sick. But hey, and you guys are in a good spot too. Like I'm just thinking about it. Like, second place is 1 and 2. I mean, you guys are in a great position right now, right? So. Crazy division. It's weird how it's working out this year, but yeah, you guys.
It is there. There's a lot of weird things going on in the NFL in 2024. A lot of teams are going, "What? Who's undefeated? What? Who's hasn't won a game yet? Are you kidding me?" But yeah, I mean, I couldn't have dreamed a better start for the Seahawks. I mean, I thought we'd start 2-0. I certainly didn't think we were going to go 3-0. Of course, I didn't predict that Tua was going to be out at quarterback either. But then again, I didn't see the Niners starting out 1-2, the Rams starting out 1-2, and I mean, but I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week. And you guys aren't doing too shabby either. You got a tough division as well. So yeah, it's going to be. This is a huge game with stakes already pretty high at this early stage of week 4 of the season. So before we get into the X's and O's and the details about our teams, Dion, why don't you tell everybody, for those watching who don't know anything about you, who you are, how you got into this, and a little bit more about your channel.
Yeah, so I've been doing this. I do Detroit Lions content. I've been creating content since high school, man. I was thinking about this recently. I think I was a sophomore in high school when I started doing this. So I've been doing this a lot longer than I've realized. Time absolutely flies. And, you go through it. I think things change as you do it. You just find different things that you like. So content's adjusted, content has shifted, but it's all been kind of the same purpose as to why I got started, as to why I think I do it now. Just because I love talking about the team. For whatever reason, I love talking about it. It's how I got into it, listening to it on the radio. Back before, I could watch certain games. Like, we didn't have cable at one point, so I'm just listening on the radio, and I loved it. Shout out to Dan Miller. And that got me into it, man, because here and after the post-game show, you get to listen to it. And I think as fans, what makes this so great, I think you can attest to this as well as a Seahawks fan, is being able to speak on losses for me helps a ton. It's like, instead of just having that bottled up, you get to speak on it, you get to talk about it, whether that's however you want to point that, whatever you want to say about it, it helps you kind of just get over a loss. And the same thing with the win, man. Everybody wants to celebrate together. So I think for me, same reason I started is the same reason I'm doing it now. Thing has tweaked a little bit, but it's still all Lions content over here. So, and it's good to see you again, NorbCam. I mean, we've known each other for a while, but when you hit me, I was like, oh my goodness, man, it's been too long. We need to get back on this, man. I'm glad to be over here, but I was a little bit nervous. I gotta be honest. I knew that quality was going to be top tier. I was like, oh snap, I'm about to look crazy on this show. This quality's going to look incredible. I'm going to look crazy on here.
Well, I appreciate you making the time to be on here, man. I'm trying to hit every content creator I know of to do a collab pregame for every game. I don't know if I can find one for every single team, but I know most of them. So I'm glad I was able to find you on this, because we should have been doing something a while ago, because, man, this is the third time in 3 years that we've played in Detroit. And luckily, the Seahawks have, just by the skin of their teeth, have managed to eke out wins both times. But yeah, we'll get into that in a second. But like you said, I think what's cool about these platforms platforms for us as, you know, we were fans first and then content creators later, right? But I think what people like about this is that, you know, you can always watch the mainstream stuff and, you know, they keep it pretty vanilla, right? And, you know, broadcasters never get really that mad. They all kind of keep it all very PC, but we can be a little more raw. And I think people like that relatability. They're like, oh, I feel exactly his pain, you know, airing out when you're thrilled. And then when you're really pissed off at what goes wrong, people can kind of, I think, relate to that. And that's what's fun about this. So, and how long have you been a Lions fan? You said you've been doing the content since high school, but have you been a fan all your life?
Fan since I can remember. The first full season I remember was 2011, probably because they were pretty good that year. You know, the year before was a mess. So being 10-6 probably had something to do with that. But that's the first year that I remember. But I can remember when I was very young, like it was because we were bad. I don't remember the games that well, but like, ooh, I should become a Bengals fan because we were bad. So I was trying everything. I had a Steelers jersey. I was like, oh, I might be a Steelers fan because they're near here too. But as soon as I can remember, as soon as we played the Bengals, the Lions did, I was immediately like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm a Lions fan. This just doesn't work. So since that time, full Lions fan. I've always been a Lions fan, but I tried to dabble, just didn't happen. I'm stuck with the Lions.
Now, you don't live in Detroit, right? You live near, but not in Detroit.
Yes, near, not in Detroit. About an hour and a half away from Ford Field, but it's a great spot. I mean, it's an hour away from training camp, so I regularly miss training camp days now, Norb. I mean, I'm there all the time, even though I'm not actually from there.
Yeah. Well, I admire you for being a Lions fan because you guys have had to endure some very tough times. I can only relate to you, not as a Seahawks fan. You know, prior to winning the Super Bowl, I could relate to struggles as a fan. But I would probably just say most recently being a Mariners fan at the same time. There is no worse baseball hell than being a Seattle Mariners fan, man. I mean, yeah, the worst team, not by record, but by lack of ever making it to anything big has been just one frustrating year after another. But I digress. We're not going to talk baseball here on this platform. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about kind of leading up to this season. I just want to start by saying a little frustration on behalf of Seahawks fans for Lions fans. Man, I was rooting hard for you guys last year in the playoffs, man. Every Seahawks fan I know, obviously, was rooting for the Lions, and you guys should have had that game, man. I was like, just Dan Campbell kicked the freaking field goal. I just want to get your perspective because my feeling was you guys had the 49ers beat in that. That was a championship game, right? That was for the Super Bowl. And I was like, wow, man, if you just took the points, you guys would have been in the big game. But it didn't happen. But I know that Dan Campbell kind of lives by the sword, dies by the sword with his aggressive, go-for-it nature. What's your feeling? What was your feeling kind of after that game? And I guess just overall, leading into this season, what's your feeling on that aggressive approach by your coach, Dan Campbell? Do you love it? Was it frustrating? Was it kind of like, well, that's just what we get? Or what was your feeling kind of at the end of last season and then how it translated into the start of this year?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think from my perspective, I mean, it's always difficult to dial down because it's not like an exact science to when he goes forward and when he doesn't. I mean, some of it could be the kicker, but we've seen our kicker make that field goal. We had a long field goal against the LA Rams, but for me, just the idea of being aggressive like he is and playing with that mindset, personally, just the fact that he took this team to the NFC Championship, I feel crazy questioning, you know, that's going to be his mindset and he's going to live and die by that, like you said. Like, we want to be smart about it, right? And there's times I've gotten on it in the past, but I think as a whole, I can absolutely live with what he does because I think that's why this team got to where they were. Like you said it. I mean, an NFC Championship game, we were leading big at halftime, chance to go somewhere we've never been before, which was the Super Bowl. And a guy like Dan Campbell, I think in a lot of ways was necessary to somehow kind of bring this organization to life. Like they needed someone that was just above and beyond like that had 110% confidence in everybody that was out there. Like, you guys are going to go make it happen. We completely believe in you. They needed someone with almost like, you know, as a fan, sometimes you're like, whoa, you're way too optimistic. Like, in a way, maybe as a coach, he's a little bit too much like that at times. But I think that we needed that. We needed someone like that where it was, we believe that you guys are going to make this happen. My favorite moment, Norb, was year one. I was at the San Fran game. I think that was the season opener. And we lost that game 41-33, but we were getting blown out. And we were down like 4 touchdowns in that game, like in the third quarter. And he went for it on his own side of the field. And usually, you know, it's like, okay, the game kind of fell over. It's like, why are we going for it? But at the same time, as a fan, you're like, dude, we have nothing to lose. I don't care if we lose by 100, right? We're losing anyway, so let's go for it. Let's see if we can make this a game. And the fact that he was willing to do that, I think told us everything we needed to know about what Dan Campbell was. Like, he didn't care what it looked like. It was like, we're winning this football game. And I think that belief that he's instilled through the players and the coordinators are doing the same thing is really the only kind of personality that could have gotten the Lions to where they are and could have brought this team to life. Where now everybody that comes here, there's just that belief. There's an expectation of winning now. It's different than something I've ever seen as a Lions fan. So I think heading in this year, same kind of thing, right? Like different situations. You know, I think the one thing that will change that we'll see is potentially like on 4th and 2, 4th and 3, may see more field goals this year just because I think he has a kicker that's better at that. But I think in general, the idea of being aggressive and going for it and throwing the ball in early downs when it's like we should run out the clock, I don't think that's going anywhere because I just think that trickles down to everybody. Like we saw it against Arizona. It was a second down. It's like, hey, if we run the ball 3 times, there's like 30 seconds left. We're going to probably win this game. And he throws it on second down. Now, Goff ended up just scrambling, but it's like that kind of thing I don't think is going to change. And as a Lions fan, I can live with it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, there's something. Well, you know, when it's your team and they go, everybody wants your team to go for it, right? 4th and short, go for it, go for it. Of course, you don't make it. Oh, why did we go for it? Oh, that was such a dumb decision. So, of course, when you get it and you're aggressive, you love it, right? I mean, everyone loves it, but yeah, you just gotta be smart about it, especially when there's a Super Bowl on the line. But yeah, no, I respect and I do like that kind of gunslinger, go for it mentality because there's nothing worse than like playing it safe and then it bites you in the butt anyway. It's like, oh man, we should have just gone for it anyway. But yeah, you got that kneecap biting mentality, and it's definitely fun to watch. And before I continue, so this is my special guest, Dose of Dion 2.0. I know you got your YouTube channel. I got the link in the description. Are you on other social media as well?
I'm sort of like I'm technically on other social media. I'm just not very great at it. I am on Twitter, you know, but for some reason it's not Dose of Dion 2.0. It's 0 Dose of Dion. I don't know what I was doing there, to be honest. I can't explain that one. It just is. So that is what it is. I'm on Instagram is my name. I don't know what Twitter's doing over there, or X, I should say. But yeah, I'm on those 2 platforms specifically outside of YouTube.
Okay, but YouTube's kind of your primary. That's kind of your bread and butter.
YouTube's the primary. You know, we started working with IBeDave, you know, the podcast, so I'm starting to get some uploads over there too. I know IBeDave has a lot of different content creators, so I started to put some content out over there too. Yeah, that's been cool. Just kind of mixing up some podcast stuff. You know what I mean? It's all about the mic. Norb, you know what the time it is.
You just got to get it out there. Yeah,
the podcast. Yeah, you got to. It sounds good. There's something different about a podcast.
yeah, different, but yeah, just the sound and then just longer form content and all that. So I kind of like what we're doing right now. And what's the 2.0? Was there a 1.0 Dose of Dion that I didn't know about, or where does the 2.0 come in?
I guess that probably would have been before we first met because yeah, there was just a Dose of Dion, and that account, unfortunately, I got hacked on that account, lost that account. Yeah, that one stung, man, because you know it's the first account. I think I was at like 3K subs or something at the time, so I was pretty hyped up, and I was in courses trying to learn how to do this, and that thing gets hacked. I couldn't get it back. It got to the point. Quick little side. I got to the point where the person who ever hacked it was like posting videos on my channel, and that was something that was like, okay, they were just like making movies and posting them. So I had a second channel. I was like, hey, that stuff's fake. Then they took the fake video that I made to say that's fake and put it on my normal channel. So at that point, I was like, yo. I was like, there is no way of getting this back. You know, I just kind of had to be like, you know what? It is what it is. I had to have YouTube terminate it, and we just went to 2.0, move forward.
Yeah, man, that's the worst. I went through a bad hack last year or 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago, and it was terrible. And there's nothing worse. It feels like someone breaking into your house and like taking over it, right? It's like the worst feeling in the world. But I'm glad you're doing this now. I'm glad you got your own thing. 2.0 is where we roll. So, all right, talk to me about the 2024 version of the Lions. I mean, going into the season, I think there was a lot of hype considering how close you guys got to getting to the Super Bowl. And then 24, I think a lot of people had you as the favorites to make it to the Super Bowl this year. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen so far in the first 3 weeks. Are the Lions what you hoped they would be, and what is your definition of what the 24 Lions are?
Yeah, it's a good question because I think coming in, of course, there was just a lot of bigger expectations, as you said, like from the public perspective, there's a lot of high expectations. We're expected to be really good now. And then all of a sudden, like you touched on at the beginning, the NFC North is just everybody's winning. You know, the Packers lose their quarterback, they're still winning games. The Bears are the only team. The Vikings are undefeated. I don't know what's going on over there, and they're just blowing teams out. So the NFC North has performed at a super high level, which has made it necessary. It's like, hey, after losing that one to Tampa, we have to get back and get into the win column because we can't fall behind at this point. I think that because the expectations are kind of where they are, there's certain expectations coming, like week 1 against LA where St. Brown wasn't as involved, and it was like, this is weird. This isn't what we know. So I think immediately there's like, you know, alarms going off. Like, wait a second, we know what we expect from the offense, and that's not what this was. But I think at the same time, it's okay. Like, we didn't play in the preseason. Most teams don't now. I like where they got to last week. Every game's been its own kind of unique story. I mean, Tampa Bay, you outgain them. You double up their yards, and you lose that football game because you can't score in the red zone. Last week, we come back and fix that, but we have some other problems that pop up. Overall, though, and you know this is a Seattle fan, I ultimately just want to get the win. Like, I know it's a weak way to put it, but it's true. Like, I just want to win. We can worry about the little things that we have to fix because a lot of games there's something unique, which I think is in a way is good and bad, where it's like, well, it's not one specific issue, so it's not like we have this glaring hole. But the flip side is it's also just different issues popping up, so we have a lot of things that we got to get right. But yeah, it's just finding a way to win, and I think last week was a really good step back for a lot of fans into what we expect this team to look like, from St. Brown being involved, running the football really well. And the biggest thing for me, which I look at as I know I'm more on the optimistic side, but it was seeing the defense. The defense through the first 3 weeks has taken massive strides from last time we played you guys. I mean, 48-45 the one time I think that was a couple years ago when we played you guys. Our defense was a disaster. I mean, we couldn't cover anybody.
You're speaking to the choir. You're preaching to the choir, man.
Absolutely. So we double a DK and Lockett. It's like you can't double everybody. And to see where it's went now in 3 weeks, it's like this is good. And I trust the offense is going to be fine. But it's been really about the defense for me to this point and just finding ways to win along the way, because ultimately I think the offense is going to come along and be what we expect it to be.
Well, I feel there's a lot of parallels between these two teams. Like you said, a couple of teams whose defenses weren't great last couple of years. Detroit's definitely shored up theirs. We've shored up ours tremendously from what we were like almost the worst defense in the league last year, and now we're like, it's a whole different. I haven't felt this excited about a defense since like 10 years ago when the Legion of Boom first showed up. I'm like now excited to get the defense out there. Before it was like, oh God, our defense, let's go. Now it's like, hey, can we get the defense out there? I want to see them do some more stuff. So it's a great feeling to be on when your defense is playing well. But I feel like the advantage that you guys have is you've got a really good, strong offensive line. That's probably our biggest weakness. But yet you still got a quarterback who's solid. You've got weapons on the ground, weapons in the air. That's the part that gets me a little nervous. So let's get to the specific matchup. Tell me what's your feeling? What is it going to take for the Detroit Lions to win the game? The Lions will win this game if what?
I think the Lions will win this game, and probably two sides to this. First off, not having Frank Ragnow is going to be pretty big in this one. You know, you touched on it, the defensive line. Now, I will have a question for you, just kind of where we're at with Byron Murphy playing. It doesn't sound like he's going to, but him, and then also, Leonard Williams, like where that kind of health-wise. I think that means a lot when you guys look at just the way that you're built. Like your defensive line is pretty well put together. But I think the Lions will win if they find that run game again, as always, because that's just who they are. And I expect them to be honest, from what I've seen so far. I think they're going to run the ball well. But the biggest thing for me is what I've really liked from what I've seen with your new defense, or the adjustments that you guys made, is it doesn't always feel like I'm watching Seattle and I'm like caught off guard by what I'm seeing, but it's more so you guys are just very sound in the back end. Like having Witherspoon back there has been, I feel, awesome for you guys. He looks awesome in coverage, and Reek Woolen's out there. You guys are so sound in the back end. I love watching Jenkins play at safety. So I think for us, it's going to be about finding the matchup that isn't St. Brown, like finding the easy that isn't St. Brown. We have to find something easy in the pass game. I want to point to Laporta, but I'm not sure if he's going to play. But what is that thing that's not St. Brown? Because I think Witherspoon's going to see a lot of him in this game, and that'll be the key. Because I don't think it'll be about confusion. It'll be about who's getting open. Can someone just go win for us? I think that'll be the key in this one, and really who's that number 2 that steps up that's not Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Well, I think you mentioned the run game and our interior line. That's the matchup to watch, because Byron Murphy, from everything I'm hearing, is going to be out for some time. Some time is the word. Anytime you hear some time, that usually means at least a game. So he will not be playing in this game. Leonard Williams is still an unknown. It's kind of one of those could go either way, so we're anxiously awaiting the injury report. So that's unfortunate. However, the one good news is that we have not had Uchenna Nwosu, who is arguably our best pass rusher, has not played a single down in the regular season yet, because he got crappily chop blocked in the preseason game and was out for like the first 3 weeks. So he's supposed to be back. And Kenneth Walker's been practicing. He's still not officially back in, but man, we are a totally different offensive team when he's on the field, and he's been off the field more than he's been on. So I'm hoping to God he plays Monday night. But the missing the meat in the middle is definitely going to be it's going to test us, especially with a team that can run the football like you guys can. So, but yeah, you mentioned offensive weapons, but injuries. It seems like all teams are dealing with it, right? I mean, we're only week 4, and the injury lists just seem to be piling up early for so many teams, right? That's a lot of the reason why the 49ers are where they are, why the Rams are where they are. So many weapons down, and I'm not complaining about that. We have our own problems too, but we're still undefeated. There's nothing better than having walking wounded, but you're still on top of your division. Now, you guys, like you said, the North, man. I don't know what the Vikings are doing, man. Sam Darnold having this reincarnation is crazy, but man, we're gonna face all those guys because we play all the teams in the North this year. So, man, it's it's gonna be a gauntlet, and it's crazy. You guys are in 3rd place with 2-1 behind the Packers and.
Well, I guess it depends on what happens, because I think technically we're 2nd right now, but that'll be the first divisional matchup. So yeah, if the Packers...
Well, that's right, Packers are 2-1 too. Packers and 2-1 also, right? Oh, that's right. So you guys have the same... Yeah, so I'm not sure how that shakes out, but you'll know come into the weekend, going into Monday, right? So anyway, so let's continue on with the flip side of it. You said what it would take for the Lions to win. Well, tell me, what would it take for the Lions to lose this game? What would be the thing that happens?
That's a good quote. Well, first off, when you brought up Kenneth Walker, I immediately was like, oh, dang, I forgot about that whole situation. I was watching you guys yesterday on that side of the ball, and Zach Charbonnet, he's been good. I like Zach Charbonnet, but you guys have seemingly ran block pretty well. You're getting some good, I think, a lot of good work out of the left side, and we know the weapons that you guys have. I mean, there's that play DK Metcalf had last week was just ridiculous. The guy wasn't even open, and it's just like, okay, that's just DK Metcalf. So that kind of comes with the territory. It's like, you're gonna get things like that. You just know that's gonna happen because he's that good. I think for the key for us, though, probably on more so the flip side, is I've always really liked Geno Smith under pressure. I've always really liked how he stands in there and he delivers, and I always feel like he uses his eyes well. I just feel like there's a lot of poise from Geno, and he's played us really well. I think in a lot of ways, sometimes he gets a little bit overlooked just because of, what happened in the past and all the credit goes to his weapons. But I like Geno Smith, man. I really do. And I think for us, it's going to be about, if we are bringing extra rushers, which we know Aaron Glenn wants to do, it's not letting Geno Smith just pick us apart, to be honest with you. Like we have to create a negative somewhere in there in this game, because Kenneth Walker kind of opens up that whole running game. I think the Lions lose this one if they lose the turnover battle. And I think for me, that's mainly because Witherspoon and that back end that you guys have, I know you guys can take the football away. I don't doubt that at all. So I want to keep things, find what's easy offensively. But it's the flip side of, I don't trust that Geno's going to give it away necessarily, and I really like him in some of those tough spots. So I think for us, it's going to be, if we go out there and we lose this turnover battle, right, we get into a spot where it's 2-0, I think it's going to be very difficult to make that up against a team like you guys. I think this has to be a clean game to win.
Turnover battle for sure is always the thing. Now, we lost the turnover battle to the Dolphins, but Dolphins without Tua, we probably could have turned it over 3 times and still won that game. But nonetheless, that was a different story. But the biggest concern, I'm surprised, man. I don't know, you're just playing like the coy dude in the room or something. But man, you haven't even mentioned once Aiden Hutchinson, man, that dude is going to be a problem for us. Our offensive line is not stellar at this point. I give props to you guys' line because with the offseason moves you guys made, possibly one of the best lines in the league. Ours definitely not sniffing that category. It's probably the biggest weakness on the Seahawks right now. We got the only guy who's sort of consistently performing well is our left tackle, Charles Cross. After that, it is a crapshoot. Our left guard, Laken Tomlinson, iffy at best. Connor Williams from the Dolphins, rated high before he came in, but he's coming from that knee injury, still getting his feet underground, so at best. Right guard, not good. Right tackle, we are on our 3rd string tackle, dude. I mean, we didn't have our starting tackle to begin with. He's been on a knee issue. Then George Fant, he went down in the first game, so we've been relegated to the 3rd, and he's been our 2nd best lineman. Our 3rd string right tackle has been our 2nd best lineman. That's what we're dealing. That's what we're coming into crazy Ford Field with, and Geno having to try to deal with that kind of protection with walls crumbling around him. So then we got Aiden Hutchinson, wherever he's going to go, is going to be wreaking havoc on somebody. So I hope our coordinator is coming up with some very interesting schemes to try to take care of him, because man, he is a wrecking crew. I think, doesn't he lead the league in sacks or something? 6.5 sacks or something. I believe so. Yeah, he had like 4.5 in week 2, so he's in a good spot there. I will say this though,
we have seen it's Forsyth, right? At right tackle. We have seen him before. And
he did good.
Pretty darn well.
He kept Aiden Hutchinson at bay last time.
It was like we came in, we're like, ooh, that's the matchup to watch, right? And then it's just like, okay, we're not really doing anything over there. He's actually winning those. So I don't want to discount him. He's going to see Hutchinson a lot because that's where Hutchinson typically aligns, even without Davenport now. But he did pretty well, so I don't want to count him out. That's why I say, because Gino got it done versus in the past, and that matchup looked great on paper still. So for me, it's like, I hope that goes well, but you guys handled it. You did okay last time you had to deal with that situation.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. Yeah, maybe it all worked out. Maybe the third string tackle is a perfect guy for this particular matchup. But I don't know. He's a pretty bad dude, man. Hutchinson. So we'll see how that all goes. But yeah, it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to definitely not be the high scoring affair there was in the 40s. I think that was 2 matchups ago, right? But it was still pretty high scoring, given the last one that went into overtime. So we got to go to score prediction here, Dose of Dion. So what's your score prediction on this Monday night game? Is going to go between the Seahawks and the Lions?
Yeah, this is tough, man, because, we're talking through it, and I'm thinking through it. I was watching this defense. Like I said, I just like how sound you guys are. I don't feel like there's, major holes to expose defensively, especially Nwosu, like you said, getting back. That's going to be huge for you guys. I'll be honest. I'll put this out. When I've had to give my predictions earlier this week, it was a little bit disrespectful towards Seattle. Look, and I don't want to do that over here. I may have said 34-10. I may have said that. I don't feel great about it. I'm going to be honest. I don't feel great about it. But
okay.
Hey, I gotta keep you. I'm gonna pick the Lions, but I have to keep. I'll stay where I'm at with it. I don't feel great about 30 because I like your guys' defense. I do, but I'm gonna stick with 34-10. I think that this is. I think that, and that's no because I do think Seattle's played really well, but I feel like this is one of those games where if the Lions can get a lead early in this game, which I think that they can kind of take away some of the comfortability from Seattle. Then you talk about that O-line. If Hutchinson does maybe more so than we expect than what we saw last time, and I think Hutchinson's really expanded his game since that time, I think we're in a good spot to potentially win that turnover battle, to create those turnovers. So I'm going 34-10 because I've already said it, and I don't want to be the guy that comes on here. I'm like, hey, actually, hold up. It's actually going to be a 1-point game. I'll stick with 34-10, but it does sound crazy even when I'm saying it.
Man, I like how you say, no disrespect to the Seahawks, and then you disrespect us with a 34-10 prediction, man. I mean, wow. After all those nice things you said about our defense, all those nice things you said about Geno Smith, you come out with a 34-10 prediction. Come on, Dion, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
The comments get all over me. It's cool.
Yeah, well,
it's all right.
We'll see. Yeah, you got to own it, right? You got to own it. Yeah, man. So in this game, truth be told, before anything started in the season, I predict things out, and I thought we'd be 2-2 in week 4. I do not have the Seahawks winning this game. I don't have it at a score that you got here, but I think this is going to be another nail biter down to the last minute, and I feel like that. Man, we've had 2 in a row, barely the last 2 times there. Third time. Can that be a charm? That maybe is a charm for Detroit this time around. So I'm going with a heartbreaking 28-24 loss. The Seahawks have their first loss of the year on Monday night against the Lions. But we hang tight, we hang tough, and we show the rest of the league that, okay, we can hang with some of the best teams in the league. So don't discount it just because we haven't played anybody yet. But that's my official prediction at this point. I hate to do it. People go, oh no, how can you be a fan, man? You're not rooting for the Seahawks. Like, dude, unless I'm predicting we're going to go 17-0, there's going to be a loss or 2 in here somewhere. And I got to put a couple in there, right? So that's my prediction, 28-24. Vegas, or I should say BetUS and the other gaming companies out there, they've got the odds at 3.5 in favor of the Lions. Not the crazy 34-10 score, but more closer to my score. 3.5 point favorites. Pretty much a pick'em game. But what do you think about these odds? You think they got the right team chosen? Well, you can maybe make a little money on that if you decide to get into the sports wagering side of things. Just go to BetUS and use promo code YouTube150. You can get 150% match on your first deposit and 125% on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Just go up there, you check out the odds, you click, put in the amount, and then there you go. You're rocking and rolling. BetUS, sportsbook and casino. So there we go, man. The numbers have been put out there. We'll find out Monday night. Now, truth be told, I always do a live stream of every game. If I'm not at the game in Lumen Field, I'm live streaming from my studio just like here, with the exception of Monday night. I will not be live streaming it because my daughter, who's in her senior year, has a volleyball match that night, and I'm the PA announcer for the game, so I will be calling a volleyball match during this Monday night game. Who really would have figured this was going to happen? So my plan is to watch this, to totally turn off all social media, not talk to anybody who might blur out the score to me, and run home and watch the game as if it's live so I can experience it raw and try to record my reaction so it'll feel like it's a true live game reaction, even though it's going to be probably like 2 hours after the game's already over. Nonetheless, you, on the other hand, will be live streaming at the time. Is that not correct on your YouTube channel?
Yes, I will be.
Okay, so if you want to see Dion's reactions to when the Seahawks pull the upset and defeat his Lions, and he has to eat crow when he finds out his 34-10 score is way off, just tune into his YouTube channel and check out his live stream. And then after that, I'm going to take, I've been doing this for the last couple of games. It's been pretty cool. People like it. I take the kind of the highlights of the game, pack into like a 10-minute video, and I take the best reactions from both of us and mash them together so it's like simultaneous reactions as each of these big plays in the game unfold. And I have permission from Dion to do the same with your channel. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Please do.
All right, man. It's going to be pretty cool. So, again, my special guest, Dose of Dion 2.0. Check out his links in the description. And is there anything else you want to add for people to before we sign this off that they want you want them to know about you?
I don't think. I mean, look, man. I'm here for it. You know, I'm probably going to be all, and I will not bet you if it's 34-10. I won't say a thing. 34-10. I won't say a thing. You know
Don't you dare! No, Don't you dare spoil it for me. I'm gonna have my phone off anyway. I'm not gonna look at it. But like I said, I am on the same page with you that I think this might be the Seahawks' first loss. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're definitely wrong. But nonetheless, I just think this may be too much to handle. Too many injuries. And a depleted offensive line and injuries in the middle of the heart of our defense is just going to be too much to overcome against a high-flying, kneecap-biting Dan Campbell Lions team. But that's why they play the game, right? All right. Thanks again, Dion. Appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this. And I will wish you luck the rest of the way after Monday.
That makes sense.
Go Hawks.